retail spending, consumer spending in October was not as strong as people had expected.
Right.
And that's interesting because the holiday shopping season each year has been starting earlier and earlier and earlier. And these major retailers are trying to capture these sales all the way into October and even late September. You have places like Amazon doing Prime Big Deal Days.
Right.
Target had a week for subscribers to their service that they have. So they're trying to capture these holiday sales earlier. And when you don't see retail sales as strong in that month where all these sales are going on, it could be a sign that things might not be as robust.
Welcome to Reporter's Notebook, where we talk to the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the stories breaking on their beats. I'm Jim Antle, and I'm joined today by economics reporter Zach Halaschak. Zach, did we have a happy Thanksgiving, or at least did the retailers and the businesses?
So the retail environment was pretty good this Thanksgiving weekend. Retailers typically classified the shopping weekend as starting on Thanksgiving Day and then moving into the Monday, that Cyber Monday, which in the past few years has become increasingly popular with shoppers who are trying to get deals online and don't want to go to brick and mortar stores.
Right.
So this year it actually broke a record for total amount of people going out and shopping and total amount of sales. So yes, it was good for retailers, but I think there are some metrics that show that it was a little softer than maybe some people might have expected. One of those is the average amount that shoppers spent went down from last year. So they spent slightly less when they did go out. So they're not buying as much, but they are still going out and shopping, which is good news for the economy.
So does this tell us anything about what the Christmas rush is going to look like?
I think it tells us that it's still going to be a plus year. It's still going to be positive growth from last year. The National Retail Federation predicts somewhere between 3 and 4% growth, which is about on average with what it was at pre-pandemic. I think it was around 3.6% in the 10 years or so leading up to 2020. And so I think that's about what we can expect. But there are some other signs, and I've talked to some analysts at some other firms who said there's signs that it might be a little weaker than that 3 to 4% range. One of those metrics is that retail spending, consumer spending in October was not as strong as people had expected.
Right.
And that's interesting because the holiday shopping season each year has been starting earlier and earlier and earlier. And these major retailers are trying to capture these sales all the way into October and even late September. You have places like Amazon doing Prime Big Deal Days.
Right.
Target had a week for subscribers to their service that they have. So they're trying to capture these holiday sales earlier. And when you don't see retail sales as strong in that month where all these sales are going on, it could be a sign that things might not be as robust going into November, December. Another sign that people are looking at is seasonal hiring. Every year, retailers load up on seasonal hires to help man the shops during the holiday rush. And this year, they're not hiring as many people. So that's another indication that they could be expecting a little bit softer sales this year than past few years.
So President Joe Biden, he got a couple of good pieces of economic news recently. What were they?
Yeah, it was kind of a double whammy this week. One, we had GDP. GDP expanded in the third quarter by 5.2%, which is a huge amount. That's a very surprising amount.
It's a strong growth rate.
It is, and it was actually revised up. The way that these GDP reports work is that they release an initial estimate, which is 4.9%, and then a few revisions after that as kind of the numbers shake out, and the government kind of gets a better sense of what the economic expansion actually looked like. And so now it went up. It's 5.2%, which is, of course, good news for the Biden administration. Right. Biden's going to go out and tout that as proof that his Bidenomics plan is working and that the economy is strong. And then the other report that came out this week was that inflation, according to the PC, the Personal Consumption Expenditures Index, which is the Fed's preferred gauge, actually declined to 3%. Now that's still, I think it was from 3.4% the month before. So it's now 3% on an annual basis. And that is still above the Fed's 2% level that it wants to see inflation running at long term. But any downward movement on annual inflation is going to be good news for the economy. And it's a sigh of relief for the Federal Reserve, which has been raising interest rates since, I believe, March of last year in order to drive down inflation. So the closer we get to that 2%, the better things are going to be looking for the economy and, for Biden, politically speaking.
So Bidenomics for Christmas?
I think so.
Ho, ho, ho. Thank you, Zach. You can read Zach and the rest of our policy team's coverage at washingtonexaminer.com.